Kindness often arrives quietly, without banners or applause, and this story is about one such quiet force named Cooper, a man whose simple actions reshaped lives he never intended to change. Cooper grew up in a town where people hurried past one another with eyes fixed on the ground, a place where survival mattered more than compassion and success mattered more than sincerity. From a young age, Cooper noticed the absence of warmth around him. He noticed how shopkeepers spoke with forced politeness, how neighbors avoided conversation, and how children learned early to guard their feelings. Yet something inside him resisted becoming like everyone else. He did not know where this resistance came from. It was not taught in school, nor was it encouraged at home. It was simply there, like a small light refusing to go out. Cooper's childhood was not easy. His family struggled financially, and many nights were spent listening to whispered worries behind thin walls. He learned responsibility early, helping his mother with chores and taking small jobs after school. What he lacked in comfort, he made up for in observation. He watched how people reacted to hardship, how some hardened while others softened. Cooper chose the second path, not because it was easier, but because it felt necessary. When his classmates mocked a quiet boy for worn shoes, Cooper stood beside him. When a teacher lost patience, Cooper stayed back to help clean the classroom. These were small acts, barely noticed, yet they shaped the person he was becoming. As Cooper grew older, life tested him more harshly. His father fell ill, and medical bills piled up like an unscalable wall. Dreams of higher education faded, replaced by the urgent need to earn money. Cooper took a job at a local factory, working long shifts under harsh lights and constant noise. Many workers there carried anger like a second skin. Complaints filled the air, bitterness passed between breaks, and hope seemed like a luxury no one could afford. Cooper felt the weight of this environment, but he refused to let it define him. Instead of joining the chorus of resentment, he listened. He listened to stories of broken dreams, missed chances, and quiet regrets. Listening became Cooper's first great gift. People spoke to him without realizing why. Maybe it was his calm presence, or maybe it was the way he never interrupted. He learned that kindness does not always require action. Sometimes it requires patience. When an older worker named Henry collapsed from exhaustion, Cooper stayed by his side until help arrived. When a young woman named Lena cried during lunch breaks, Cooper offered no advice, only silence and a shared cup of tea. These moments did not change the world instantly, but they changed something within those who experienced them. One winter evening, Cooper encountered a homeless man sitting outside a closed store, shivering beneath a thin jacket. Others passed by, pretending not to see him. Cooper stopped, removed his own scarf, and wrapped it around the man's neck. He bought him food with money meant for his own dinner and sat beside him while he ate. They spoke about nothing important and everything meaningful. That night, Cooper walked home hungry but strangely full. He realized then that kindness costs something, but it also gives something back that cannot be measured. Life continued to press against Cooper with relentless force. His father eventually passed away, leaving behind grief that settled deep in his chest. For a while, Cooper felt lost. Kindness felt fragile in the face of such pain. Yet even in mourning, he found that helping others eased his own suffering. He volunteered at a local shelter on weekends, not because he felt strong, but because he felt broken and understood. That broken people often recognize one another. There, he met children who had known hardship far too early. He read them stories, fixed broken toys, and reminded them that their lives mattered. Years passed, and Cooper's quiet reputation grew. People began to speak of him as someone dependable, someone who showed up. He never sought recognition, and this made his actions even more powerful. When a flood damaged several homes in town, Cooper organized volunteers, not with speeches, but with example. He picked up a shovel and started clearing debris. Others followed. By the end of the week, strangers had become neighbors, and neighbors had become friends. Kindness, Cooper learned, is contagious when modeled sincerely. Despite these moments of impact, Cooper still struggled internally. He questioned whether his efforts mattered in a world so large and often cruel. One night, exhausted and overwhelmed, he considered giving up, choosing a quieter life focused only on survival. But the next morning, a letter arrived. It was from Henry, the older factory worker, who had since retired. The letter spoke of how Cooper's presence had restored his faith in people during his darkest days. It ended with a simple line, "Your kindness saved me." Cooper read the words again and again, realizing that impact is often invisible until it is reflected back. Motivated by this realization, Cooper decided to take a risk. He left the factory and started a small community center using savings and donations he never expected to receive. The center offered free meals, tutoring for children, and a safe space for conversation. It was modest and imperfect, but it was alive with warmth. People from all walks of life came through its doors. Some stayed for hours, some only minutes, but everyone left feeling lighter. Cooper did not call himself a leader, yet he had become one through consistency and care. There were setbacks, of course. Funding was unstable, and critics questioned the value of his work. Some accused him of being unrealistic, of wasting time on kindness when the world demanded toughness. Cooper listened, as he always had, but he did not retreat. He understood that kindness is not weakness. It is courage practiced daily. When the center faced closure, the community rallied. Donations appeared, volunteers doubled, and the space survived because it had become essential. As Cooper aged, his hair grayed, and his steps slowed, but his purpose remained steady. He mentored younger volunteers, teaching them not through lectures, but through example. He taught them that kindness is not about grand gestures, but about showing up when it is inconvenient. He taught them that motivation does not always feel powerful. Sometimes it feels tired and uncertain, yet it moves forward anyway. His story spread beyond the town, inspiring similar centers elsewhere, though Cooper rarely traveled to see them. In his later years, Cooper often sat on a bench outside the community center, watching children play and adults laugh. He reflected on a life shaped not by wealth or status, but by choice. The choice to care. He understood that he had not changed the entire world, but he had changed many small worlds, and together, they mattered. When asked about his motivation, Cooper simply said that kindness was the only thing that made sense to him. When Cooper eventually passed away, the town gathered in numbers never seen before. People shared stories of moments he likely never remembered, moments that had altered their paths. A scarf on a winter night, a listening ear in a noisy factory, a hand offered without expectation. The community center remained, renamed in his honor, but more importantly, his legacy lived on in the actions of those he inspired. This is the motivational truth of Cooper's story. You do not need to be extraordinary to make a difference. You need to be present. You need to choose compassion when indifference is easier. Kindness will not remove all suffering, but it will give it meaning. Like Cooper, anyone can become a quiet force of change, shaping the world not through power, but through persistent care. And in a world that often feels cold, that choice is nothing short of revolutionary.